So what I'm planning on doing is to build this buying ring where you provide all the things that are necessities in a purchasing club. Land stock and building stock for home, so people can potentially build and construct a house as part of this combination of an initial investment, perhaps a monthly pay-in, and then perhaps a number of hours of work. So you get some shares in a project for housing, clothing, agriculture, education, healthcare, and the basis of this is really a community bank. The community bank reinvests into these community businesses. But if you design it properly, you can basically have people make rings of prosperity where they have enough capital and enough expertise that they can actually own their basic services as shareholders rather than as citizens. But every citizen can become a shareholder. And what this does is it creates a necessity economy that no one is dependent on the state to supply. People buy in voluntarily these buying rings. And those who already have all of this, who have the money, don't need to bother with the buying rings unless they're feeling philanthropic and want to put their name on a hospital. So what we do is we do the poverty eradication while the libertarian small government around us gives people no excuse anymore to blame others for their problems if things go well, okay? Because it's a system that the safety net is essentially removed in. Instead, you have an opportunity net. But that can't just be out of talk. You're talking about killing human beings. It has to be real transition from a safety net to an opportunity net. And if you could really do that, when you think libertarian thoughts for the first time as a progressive, you think of the ghetto and how the ghetto is basically mixed up with public housing, welfare administrators, welfare checks, correctional officers, and drugs. They make a beautiful combination because you have a huge amount of employment being driven off of these poor people that are essentially being used to finance several different government occupations. And if the support for that, if there were no welfare payments, there was no subsidized housing, and there were jobs, and there were sanitariums, perhaps, that were operated, philanthropically. If people were faced with those hard choices, and they didn't think the state would take care of them, they wouldn't. I think you wouldn't see these aggregations of squalor. You might see different aggregations of squalor. But the first thing you think of is how that system makes these people dependent. And out in the sticks in the rural areas, there are lots of people. It's very comfortable to be dependent. It really is true, even in poverty, because they don't have to work. And Ron Paul shows us that we have. To me, he showed me that the moral aspect of the philosophy was one of teaching people to be able to take care of themselves. So it really all sounds great. So sign me up. Now the problem is, will they have me? And that's about as far as I figured.